Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Respect isn't given, it's earned. And when it comes to relationships, especially between a man and a woman, respect is the foundation that keeps love alive long after the spark fades. See, a man might be attracted to you for your looks, for your energy, for that smile that lights up a room. But what makes him respect you 100 times more is how you carry yourself when he tests your worth. A man respects what he has to earn, never what comes too easy. It's in a man's nature to value what he has to work for, what challenges him, what makes him feel like he had to rise to the occasion to deserve it. When something comes too easily, it loses its value, no matter how good it seems at first. That's why when a woman sets a standard, when she makes it clear that her time, her attention, and her love are privileges, not entitlements, a man can't help but respect that. It triggers something deep inside him. It makes him want to prove that he's worthy of her. See, a man wants to feel like he earned his place in your world, not that he was simply handed it. Because the truth is, people don't treasure what they didn't have to fight for. When a woman makes a man earn her respect, her trust, and her love, she's not playing games. She's showing him how valuable she is. It's not about manipulation, it's about self-worth. If a man can walk into your life, charm you for a week, and get everything he wants, he'll subconsciously put you in the category of too easy. But when he has to be patient, when he has to show consistency, when he has to align his words with his actions, he starts to view you differently. You become a prize worth protecting, not a momentary thrill. That's the difference between being a convenience and being a priority. A man respects a woman who makes him rise to meet her standard. Every man secretly wants to feel like he earned something real. He wants to feel that he became a better version of himself to keep it. When a woman holds her ground, when she doesn't compromise her boundaries just to please him, she communicates power. It tells him, you can't just have me because you want me. You have to deserve me. That right there changes how he moves around you. He'll think twice before disrespecting you. He'll measure his words carefully, and he'll show up in a way that honors your energy, because now he knows this isn't someone he can take lightly. A man respects the woman who respects herself enough to walk away if she isn't treated right. That's where the real power lies. When he realizes that your world doesn't revolve around him, he starts to value the place he's been given in it. He starts to appreciate your presence because he knows it's not guaranteed. The moment he understands that losing you would be his loss, that's when he truly begins to respect you. Respect doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in challenge. When he sees that your love has value, that it's not something to be taken for granted, he steps up. A man will always respect what he has to earn, and the more effort he puts into earning it, the more value he places on keeping it. The way you carry yourself teaches him how to treat you. When you make him earn your time, attention, and loyalty, you teach him to never take them for granted. And when he finally realizes that everything about you is a blessing he had to work for, that's when he'll respect you, not just for what you give, but for who you are. Boundaries are the blueprint of self-worth. They are the invisible lines that tell people how to treat you, how close they can get, and what's simply off limits. When you have clear boundaries, you're not building walls, you're building respect. A man may not always say it out loud, but deep down, he admires a woman who knows how to say no. It tells him she values herself too much to settle for less than she deserves. Boundaries don't push good men away. They filter out the ones who were never meant to stay. The ones who truly care will rise to meet those standards, while the ones who only wanted convenience will walk away. Either way, your boundaries protect your peace and preserve your dignity. A woman without boundaries often finds herself giving more than she receives, loving harder than she's loved, and tolerating behavior that chips away at her confidence. But when a woman stands firm on her limits, everything changes. She becomes grounded. Her energy becomes calm, confident, and controlled. She doesn't beg for respect. She commands it, because boundaries aren't about control. They're about self-respect. When a man sees that you won't tolerate being spoken to a certain way, or that you won't settle for inconsistency, he knows exactly where he stands. That awareness forces him to choose, either rise up and do better or fall away and make room for someone who will. And when he does choose to step up, that's when genuine respect begins to grow. Boundaries also teach you how to maintain your power in a relationship. It's easy to lose yourself in love when you're afraid to lose the person. But when you know your value, when you understand that walking away is sometimes more powerful than staying silent, you stop being afraid of distance. You stop being afraid of saying, this doesn't work for me. And that's where real strength comes from. A man respects a woman who isn't afraid to stand alone, because she refuses to lower her standards for anyone. That confidence makes her unforgettable. It tells him, I don't need you to define my worth. I already know who I am. When a woman has boundaries, she creates balance in the relationship. She gives love, but she also expects it in return. She shows kindness, but she doesn't accept disrespect. She forgives, but she doesn't forget patterns. And a man who truly loves her will respect that. In fact, he'll appreciate it, because boundaries give direction. They tell him how to love her right. A man can only feel secure when he knows the rules of engagement. And boundaries make that clear. They build a healthy kind of structure where both people know what's acceptable and what's not. A man will never truly respect what he can freely take advantage of. When you draw your line and stand by it, you silently communicate that your heart, your time, and your energy are precious. You teach him that access to you must be earned and maintained through effort, loyalty, and consistency. That's the kind of woman a man doesn't play with. That's the kind of woman he respects, not because she demanded it, but because she lived it. Confidence without arrogance draws lasting admiration. There's a certain energy that comes from a woman who knows who she is and doesn't need to prove it to anyone. She walks in a room and her presence speaks before her words do. It's not loud, it's not forced, it's calm, grounded, and powerful. That's the kind of confidence that makes a man stop and pay attention. He sees a woman who's comfortable in her own skin, who doesn't need validation from anyone, and it makes him respect her even more. Because confidence isn't about thinking you're better than others. It's about knowing you don't have to compete with anyone to be valuable. When a woman carries herself with quiet confidence, it creates an unspoken attraction. Men are drawn to that kind of energy because it challenges them. It makes them want to rise up and match her level. But when confidence crosses into arrogance, it turns into a wall instead of a light. That's the difference. True confidence draws people in. Arrogance pushes them away. A confident woman doesn't have to announce her worth. She shows it in how she moves, how she speaks, and how she handles challenges. She doesn't need to chase attention or prove her value because she already knows she brings something rare to the table. Men respect confidence because it reflects emotional maturity. A woman who's confident doesn't crumble under pressure. She doesn't lose herself when things get hard. She stays composed, she stays graceful, and she deals with things with a level head. That kind of stability is something every man secretly admires because it gives him a sense of peace. He knows she's not going to fall apart over every misunderstanding. He knows she can handle life without constant reassurance. That independence doesn't make her cold, it makes her magnetic. It makes him want to protect her, not because she needs it, but because she's earned his respect. Confidence also changes the way a woman loves. She doesn't love from insecurity or fear. She loves from fullness. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't settle, she selects. When a man feels that energy, it hits differently. He realizes he's dealing with someone who knows her worth. Someone who's not afraid to be alone if it means staying true to herself. And that's powerful. It makes him put in effort. It makes him listen more carefully. And it makes him treat her with a level of respect he doesn't show everyone else. A confident woman also inspires a man to be better. When he sees her believing in herself, going after her goals, and holding her own in life, it motivates him. She becomes his mirror, showing him what strength looks like. He doesn't feel the need to compete with her. He feels the desire to grow beside her. That's what makes confidence so attractive. It creates balance. It reminds him that she's not looking for a savior, she's looking for a partner. Confidence without arrogance is grace with strength, power with humility. It's the kind of presence that leaves a lasting mark on any man's heart, not because she demands respect, but because she naturally commands it. Because when you're not, consistency in your standards teaches him how to treat you. A man learns who you are not from what you say once, but from what you allow repeatedly. The way you show up, the way you react, and the way you enforce your values over time all tell him exactly what kind of woman you are. You can't say you want respect and then accept disrespect when it's wrapped in apologies. You can't say you want effort but reward excuses. Consistency is the difference between being heard and being taken seriously. When you stand firm in your standards, day in and day out, you teach him that you are not moved by temporary charm, you are moved by consistent action. Men respect women who are steady in what they believe. When a woman constantly shifts her expectations depending on how she feels or what he says, he starts to test her limits. He learns that her boundaries are flexible, that her emotions can override her words. But when she stays grounded in her standards, when her no still means no, no matter how persuasive he tries to be, that's when his respect deepens. Because now he knows she can't be swayed by flattery or sweet talk. He has to show up right or not at all. And that awareness changes his behavior more than any lecture ever could. Consistency builds trust, and trust builds respect. When a man knows you mean what you say, When he sees that you're the same woman in private as you are in public, he begins to rely on that. It creates a sense of safety. He may not always agree with you, but he knows where you stand. There's nothing more attractive than a woman whose actions match her words, because that kind of integrity is rare. Men notice that. They might not always verbalize it, but they feel it deeply. They start adjusting how they speak to you, how they approach you, how they treat you, because your consistency has taught them what's acceptable and what's not. It's easy to set high standards when everything feels good, but it's when emotions get involved that consistency truly matters. It's in those moments when he disappoints you, when you feel lonely, when you want to believe the best in him, that your standards are tested. The women who are respected the most are the ones who don't abandon their values for temporary comfort. They choose long-term peace over short-term pleasure. That choice, made again and again, becomes the foundation of how a man treats them. When you remain consistent, you train the world how to interact with you. You teach people, especially men, that your energy is not something they can play with. It tells them that you're not desperate for a connection. You're devoted to self-respect. And that kind of energy forces a man to rise or remove himself. The moment he realizes that your consistency is not negotiable, that your values don't change based on his mood, that's the moment he starts treating you differently. Because a man will always respect the woman who shows him through her steadiness that she values her own heart enough to protect it. Value yourself first, he'll follow your lead. The way you treat yourself sets the standard for how everyone else treats you, especially a man. When you move like you know your worth, when you prioritize your peace, your dreams, and your happiness, it sends a clear message that you are not waiting for anyone to complete you. You're already whole. A man pays close attention to how a woman carries herself when no one is watching. If she constantly puts herself last, if she accepts less than she deserves, he learns that it's acceptable to give her less. But when he sees a woman who takes care of herself, who invests in her growth, who loves herself enough to walk away from anything that disrespects her, he immediately begins to treat her differently. Because self-value demands external respect. A woman who values herself doesn't need to announce it. She lives it in every decision she makes. She doesn't chase validation. She doesn't seek approval, and she doesn't beg for love. She knows that real love complements her life. It doesn't define it. A man can feel that kind of energy instantly. It makes him step carefully. It makes him show effort, and it makes him measure his actions because he knows he's dealing with someone who won't tolerate anything less than authenticity. When a woman respects her own time, she doesn't waste it on confusion. When she respects her own heart, she doesn't hand it to anyone who hasn't proven they can handle it. That level of self-awareness commands admiration. When you value yourself, you change the rhythm of how a man engages with you. He starts showing up earlier, trying harder, speaking more carefully, because he doesn't want to lose access to someone who clearly knows her worth. Men respect what they can't easily replace, and a woman who values herself becomes irreplaceable. She becomes the kind of woman who brings peace, not pressure. She's strong without being hard, soft without being weak, loving without being naive. That balance only comes when you've spent time understanding your value. Self-value also means not negotiating with disrespect. It means you don't explain why you deserve better. You simply stop participating where you're not appreciated. A man learns from your silence more than your words. When you withdraw your energy instead of arguing for it, he starts to understand that your love is a privilege, not a guarantee.